I found this one on Instagram. So this has this really neat fiber embroidery yarn look to it. And they took logos and they were able to apply this particular prompt to lots of different ones. So let's take a look at a prompt. And you'll notice the prompts that are really, really good are these big, long, chunky, detailed paragraphs. So let's break it down. Create a highly detailed textured logo for brand name made of thick yarn or wool. So you're establishing the subject matter and describing it. Each section of the logo should be in a different, vibrant color, matching the reference image provided. And reference images are really important as well. We get to do practical projects using those. The yarn should have a knitted texture with clearly visible fibers, giving a soft, dynamic 3D appearance. Ensure the logo has a three-dimensional effect with shading that makes it look like a knitted piece of fabric. So we're talking specifically about what kind of yarn, what color, and how it looks. And now we're going to set the scene in the background. So the background should be neutral or light colored, allowing the vibrant yarn texture to stand out while showcasing the brand's unique identity. So when we break down that prompt, it has kind of those four distinct layers that we talked about earlier, where you're establishing the subject, you're giving it context, you're giving it a background information, and you're giving it in the format that you want to have it in. This next one I really could have used in my graphic design intermediate masterclass, where I taught you guys how to create a fast food poster. And I had to go to pexels.com to find a free photo, but it was very limited. I ended up finding something that works, but what if I can create something that perfectly matched my creative vision for the poster? And this would be really neat to do for any kind of fast food poster or any food related items or any poster you want to generate. Now you can create whatever you want in terms of using that photography. So you can also do tacos, different kind of food objects. This prompt isn't as long, but I think it's still effective. It says render a dramatic, hyperrealistic image of, whatever food, suspended in midair with crumbs, splashes, particles, frozen in motion. Use bold rim lighting, macro focus, and a bright, whatever color, background to add energy and contrast. So you notice some of these creative keywords that when they are dropped, it really gives the AI a sense of style to look for in its references. So in this case, rim lighting, macro focus, and suspended in midair, and hyperrealistic. You might not know a lot of those words, but we get to go through some really nuanced words to help us be able to come up with those really strange words that maybe we don't know what rim lighting is, but we get to explore all that here soon. And I love seeing these hyper-realistic textures being used, especially this inflatable, blown up kind of object here that you're able to do. So let's take a look at this prompt. We can see it in action. It's very consistent. Once you develop that prompt, you can just kind of change out the subject matter and it's going to keep that same style pretty consistent. So how are we going to create this? This is how they did it. So let's take a look at the final prompt. Wow, I'm not going to read all of this, but I wanted to show this example of how elaborately written this is and how it probably took a good solid couple hours just to write the prompt, see the results. It's not what you wanted. You got to tweak it, change the prompt, just like we did with the shoe example. We had to go back, add stuff, add the details. This is hours, and this is why writing prompts is a creative art unto itself. So let's highlight maybe some of the really nuanced specific keywords here that they're using. So they use inflatable transparent object, gently floating in the water, so it's not in rough water, so it's kind of setting the background. So it has smooth bulging surfaces, thick visible heat sealed seams. So let me tell you how specific that is. So you almost have to research how plastic objects are made and terms about plastic. So sometimes you have to go to ChatGPT, search about inflatable plastic, learn about the process to even know how to write a prompt on how to emulate it. So that's how detailed this stuff gets. So you have turbulence, air bubbles, faint ripples, soft natural caustics. So we'll learn about caustics in a little bit, but that's all about lighting. I didn't know about this until I started to really dig deep on keywords for writing prompts. Here's another fine example of prompt writing. This is in a vacuum packed sealed bag. So let's kind of see how to do this effect. So create a high resolution hyperrealistic image, and you'll see that over and over, these same keywords, hyperrealistic, high resolution, because those are just these little keywords that all of a sudden click in the AI model's brain that goes, okay, this is the type of photos I need to look for. But I wanted to go down into this little area. Include condensation or small creases around the pressure points for added realism. How beautifully written is that? So at the end, you can see this visual details with a colon. So it's going to list lots of visual details, more than what it's already done. So crushed, transparent or metallic vacuum plastic, object silhouette visible in extreme detail, harsh lighting to emphasize texture and form, typographic overlays, SKU codes, and branding, moody, product display style, background mood. So it's setting the background mood, experimental, edgy, collectible, post-consumer, bright natural lighting, and enhances the vivid colors and gives a clean, cinematic, realistic look. Beautifully written, and the prompt, of course, looks fantastic. I had to try this prompt out. This is what I got. So this keyboard example was really neat because I thought that they really described what they wanted with those extra keywords. So in this case, they said they want a tight 2x2 grid. They just didn't say, show me a keyboard. They said, I want a 2x2 grid. So 2 keys on the top, 2 keys on the bottom. And also another thing is they talked about isometric angle. So that is the camera, view, and focus. It's got this isometric angle. So if you guys have studied, I've taught you guys isometric design before. So that's kind of really popular in terms of the view. So uploading reference images is really neat. So they uploaded a reference image of a photo they took of a Coca-Cola can, and they added the prompt, a high resolution image of this object floating inside a couple of white clouds, casting shadows in a bright blue sky. The chrome slightly scratched, dented, but highly reflective, bright, energetic lighting with a surreal, dreamlike atmosphere. And you can see how you can make a lot of really neat mock-ups with your own products or brand design work that you're working on. For this last example, it really inspired me to do some keyword searches for similar lighting textures and terms. So this has this iridescent look to it. A really, really cool effect where you have almost this rainbow prism reflection in glass. And if you don't know if your prompt you wrote is good enough, and you need a little extra boost added to your prompt, simply ask ChatGPT. It's great at refining your prompts a bit more as it knows the types of prompts it needs to generate the type of content you're looking for. Obscure descriptions unlock uniqueness and style layering. Most of us designers get stuck using the same 10 or 15 visual keywords. Perhaps bold, thick, bright, geometric, round, to name a few. But what if there was an entirely new world of thousands of different descriptive creative words that we've never explored before? It all started when I saw that iridescent prompt that I showed you earlier, and I thought the effect looked really cool. I've seen it before, I just didn't know how to put it in words. I'm going to be honest, I did not know the difference between iridescence, luminance, bioluminescence, and all these other different ones before researching this class. What's incredible is I can type into ChatGPT or a similar AI LLM and ask it for similar words for iridescence. It came up with a wider variety of similar words. I was able to ask it to create visual examples of that particular lighting on the same object, so I can get a sense of the nuanced differences between the different lighting effects. Wow, I would have never dived so deep into such specific words before, and now I feel like a better designer. I can now deeply describe various different lighting situations when I write my prompts. I can also ask ChatGPT a very specific nuanced art styles, textures, and moods, so I can expand my designer's vocabulary. I was able to take this list and intensely research so many new varieties of textures and art styles. I feel like a brand new designer that has the whole world at her fingertips. Of everything I've used for AI, this is the one that kept me up at night, but in a good way. I want you to personally go down the rabbit hole of exploring nuanced design terms you may have never heard of before. That way, when writing prompts, you can be insanely specific. We'll go over lots of examples of nuanced design terms in the next lesson, so get ready.